Very often when we're looking at electric cars and technology, we tend to keep a close eye on the Germans, the Koreans, the Japanese, and even the Americans. But very rarely do we look at the Swedes. However, today I'm in the Volvo XC40 Recharge, and I think it's a little bit of a dark horse. To begin with, it's got a range of over 418 kilometers. It also has 408 horsepower, and that goes to all four wheels. And when you put your foot down with over 600 Newton meters of torque, you do feel the punch. I'm David OC, and today we're going to be reviewing this Volvo and seeing what it's all about, and seeing is it potentially a viable option instead of buying German or Japanese or Korean, or even getting something like a Tesla Model 3. Could this be the electric vehicle for you? Stay tuned, we're going to find out. But in the meantime, if you would like to search for electric cars for sale in Ireland from over 1,000 trusted dealerships, hit the link up there, and let's get into the review. If you're a regular viewer of the DoneDeal YouTube channel, you'll know we love to bring you good, informative information, but on top of that, we really enjoy making good, high quality reviews. However, this video is going to be a little different, as ordinarily we have a videographer. However, unfortunately, when we went to film this review last Friday, the weather gods did not play part. We ended up having our cameraman getting stuck. We had to get a gritter, a JCB. It was a complete fiasco, and unfortunately that meant that we couldn't get the review filmed. That said, this XC40 is actually four-wheel drive, and it didn't really have many problems in the snow. So first thing I'm going to report back on is it is pretty good off-road. That said, these Pirelli P0 tires probably weren't the best. If you had some good off-road ones, that would probably do the job a lot better. But it is a Swedish car, and there is a lot of snow in Sweden, so I suppose that makes sense. Driving this car is kind of where it comes into its own, but before we do that, let's talk about the practicality. Electric tailgate comes as standard. You don't get that in a Tesla Model 3. And there is a 452 litre boot. That's the same as the ordinary XC40. So you don't lose anything despite having electric motors and batteries. And it's actually quite a functional boot. You can divide it. Obviously, being a Volvo, it has a ski hatch. Also, those rear seats do fold down in a 60-40 split. The interior of the Volvo, comfort is kind of themed throughout. And back here, the seats are comfortable. You've got a nice armrest with two drink holders. But look at this, there are rear heated seats. Back passengers, whether it's kids, business colleagues, they're gonna love that. And actually, headroom's pretty decent despite having a panoramic sunroof. And I actually think that is really, really essential, because with the black leather in here, it's quite dark, so that does brighten it up quite a bit. So as you step in to the driver's seat, now this is really weird. There's no key, there's no start button. To turn it on, you basically just pull the gear into drive and it turns on. And it's really weird, and it gets even weirder when you finish up, you arrive at your destination, and all you do is put it in park and get out and leave the car, and then that's it off, which is weird, but you do get used to it. Now, in terms of practicality in here, you've got a glove box here, it's quite small. There's also storage under this armrest, and then there's some wireless charging down here. The infotainment system, really well designed. It's actually, I think, done by Google itself. Maps is brilliant, there's no lag on it. One slight bone to pick with it is you need a USB-C charging point to plug in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I personally don't actually own one of them, so I've gone the whole week without it. But the Bluetooth works really, really well, and it's very intuitive, and the system, it is really, really good, to be fair now. Over here, you've got another digital display here for the driver. Your maps come up on that. You can customize the screen as you like it. Again, very intuitive. The only thing I'll say, and I'm used to getting in and out of different cars, but I can't find my range for the life of me on this car. On the bottom right hand corner, it says I've got my percentage of battery, but it won't say how much range I have, and I can't find it. And I'm usually pretty good at this stuff, but you just have to do the maths on it. So if you've got a range of roughly 400 kilometers and you've got 10% less left, then you should only have 40 kilometers. I know, you got to do the maths on it, but other than that, it's brilliant. There's a heated steering wheel on this and heated seats, but the other day when we were stuck up in the mountains, when I got back in here and put on the heated steering wheel, I realized that's probably something I couldn't live without. Really, really enjoy that. All right, let's talk about the facts and figures and of course pricing. So the base model, this has actually only just come out here now in 2022, has a single motor and it has a 78 kilowatt hour battery, and that one starts at 53,000 euros. However, this is the four-wheel drive version, so it's got two electric motors. That's got 408 horsepower, so it's an absolute beast. However, that extra motor is going to cost you about 8,000 euros, and the problem with that is it takes you over 60,000 euros. And once a car goes over 60,000 euros in Ireland, you're not entitled to that SCAI grant of 5,000 euros. So it means having it is a lot more expensive. So realistically, my advice would probably be to go for the single motor. However, that means you're still going to get a large range of 422 kilometers, which is more than enough. In fact, the dual motor has a slightly smaller range of about 418 kilometers, I think is the fact. But so you're going to be down a little bit on power, but that said, you still have over 204 horsepower, which is more than enough. However, this thing, when we go for a drive, you'll see just how quick it is. To spec it like this with all the extras, there's 3 different trim lines. This particular one's about 68,000 euros, so it is a lot of money. However, if you have it, I do actually think it's worth it because it's brilliant to drive, really, really enjoyable. And in terms of fast charging, just like a lot of cars, it can charge, I think, up to 150 kilowatts per hour, which means you can get on a fast charger, should the charger allow it, you'll be able to go from about 10 to 80% in about a half an hour roughly. So overall, it's pretty usable day to day. It's really nice to drive. So let's just go for a drive now, and I'll talk to you more about it then. So what's it like to drive? Day to day, it's very impressive. It is so quiet in here, and I know a lot of electric cars are quiet, but this is another level. The soundproofing is phenomenal. The overall feel is really premium. Even just watching the windows go down. There's 3 different speeds on the window. 3 different speeds in the window. That's the attention to detail and the premiumness that is actually gone into this XC40. Now, a big part of it is obviously the power, and there, as I pull out onto the roundabout, there is so much torque. It's phenomenal. As I said, it's 408 horsepower. It has over 600 newton meters of torque, which is a whole lot. But more to the day-to-day driving is what I want to talk about. And being an XC40, it's not Volvo's biggest SUV, so it's not ginormous. And actually the visibility is great. You've got these big, fantastic wing mirrors. This particular one being the highest spec, I think it's a Pro. It has a 360 camera, which is fantastic. The wheels are actually curbed on this, and I don't know how or who could have possibly curbed them, because Volvo have done everything in their power to avoid that happening. In terms of features, driving aid wise, well, obviously it depends on spec. This one has a Pilot Pro pack, which means it has your adaptive cruise control, so when the car in front of you slows down, it slows down, but it also has lane assist, which works really, really well. It's actually very, very well put together. But my favorite thing about driving this is the regenerative braking. Now, if you don't know what that is, hit the link up there with a video explaining it. But long story short, I'm coming up to a speed bump. Now, if I just take my foot off the accelerator, it fully slows down. And if there wasn't a car behind me, I would show you how it goes to a complete halt. And in the week I've had this driving it, I have barely touched the brake pedal, because it is essentially one pedal driving. It's the best regenerative braking I've ever driven in any electric car, and I'll say that outright. And as a whole to drive, those are big speed bumps. If I hit them in my car, you feel it. It looks shaky on the camera, but in this, watch, here comes another one. We will just cruise over it with a very smooth, elegant manner. It's so nice to drive. The seating position's glorious. I'm a big fan, and ordinarily, as you know, we had that fiasco when we went to film this, and in any other scenario, I would just drop this back to Volvo and I'd say, I'm really sorry, it didn't work out. but I felt I had to do justice to this car, and so that's why I'm here on my Sunday, when I probably should be doing my weekly shop and getting ready for the week ahead, ironing some shirts. Instead, I'm out here filming in 2 degrees just because I think this car deserves it. And so if you're considering buying one and you can afford one, I would go ahead and say buy it. And I don't say that for a lot of cars. I think there's a lot of different variables, but this week, every single day, I've gone out to the car, and I have a few cars outside. I've just gone, nah, it's the Volvo for me, because it ticks so many boxes. It's comfortable. It's a reasonably well-sized car. And that power is insane. And also this week it's been quite cold, so to have that 4-wheel drive is a bit of extra peace of mind. Now, my money, personally, I'd advise going probably for the 2-wheel drive. Although you will lose a bit of the power, it just makes so much more financial sense. You're essentially going to be spending mid-60s to get this P8 version, but I think it's the P6 is the single motor, and that one you're going to get for 53, maybe 58,000 euros, and it just makes so much more sense. So there you have it. That is DoneDeal's review of the Volvo XC40 Recharge, and I have to say, it's brilliant. I stand by what I said. It's the dark horse of the electric car world. It's been really enjoyable to drive. I will say it's a little bit of a shame that to get the dual motor version, it does pop you out of the grant, because it does make it that little bit more expensive, and it definitely goes without saying this is not a cheap car. But if you're willing to spend the money on it, you are really, really going to enjoy it. It's frighteningly quick. It's good off-road if you do end up in that scenario. I say good, it's okay. I mean, it's not gonna take you up over the Sahara Desert, but it will be more than enough for the odd bit of snow we get here in Ireland. It looks brilliant. And as a whole, I just think it's a really nice car to drive, and will be sure to probably make you quite happy. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this review, then please make sure to subscribe. I'm sorry it wasn't to our usual quality, but of course they will resume in our next review. And if you'd like to search for Volvos for sale in Ireland from over 1,000 trusted dealerships, hit the link up there. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.